Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you, Ryan Morse. Ryan is the founder and owner of Crucible Performance. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me.
Of course, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you. So before we go into your personal story, Ryan, if you could just give the audience a brief overview of who is Crucible Performance.
Yeah, Crucible Performance. Well, the world would probably classify us as a fitness facility, a gym, right? We mostly work with youth athletes, probably middle school, high school age, college age athletes. But that's really such a small portion of what we do, right? The world sees us as this gym. But the thing that I tell all of our coaches, everybody that comes in here, is really the business that we're in is we're in the life inflection point business, right? That life inflection point. So where as soon as people walk through our doors, it's not about the fitness. That's part of it. That's important. That's all of that. It's not about the scholarships. Yeah, that's important. But it's being that place that when they look back at the timeline of their life, they look back and say, thank God I attended there because everything changed because I went there. The way that I live, the way that I love, the way that I serve, the way that I take care of people, the way that I just live my life changed. We just get to do it in a really cool area, which is the weight room, which is through fitness. And there's a lot of great opportunities to teach life lessons through a weight room. Getting under some heavy weight, challenges, adversity, resiliency, grit, all of those things that I'm sure we'll talk about here in a few. But so the world, we're a gym, but really it's so much more than that. So
I love it. And I completely agree with you, Ryan. The fitness, weightlifting, it just teaches you so much about life that you can use every day out there.
yeah, absolutely. There's a certain mindset you got to have, whether it be pushing a sled or if you're getting under a heavy squat. It's not comfortable, right? It's not comfortable. It's heavy. It's hard. You have doubts that you're going to be able to stand back up. What happens if I fail? What all of these same questions that we talk about in relationships, in business, in this new job. Am I going to get the promotion, the scholarship, you name it? We all have that same stuff. But the weight room's so cool because you can see if I commit to it, if I'm disciplined, if I'm consistency, if I put the work in, good things are going to happen. I'm going to grow. And it's through that challenge, it's through the adversity that I actually get better. I don't get better doing the thing that I know that I can do. I only get better as I'm pushing those limits and getting out of my comfort zone. So yeah, there's something, it's a special place to learn. That's for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to get into how you even come about and you're doing this what you do now. Are you originally from the area here, Maryland, DC, Northern Virginia?
Yeah, I was raised in Frederick, Maryland here ever since about 93, 94. So I've been here since I was in second grade then. So I've grown up here. I was
Okay.
originally born out in California, but family moved back because of work and all that stuff. So my first memories are really here in Frederick growing up.
Sure. So is family originally from Frederick or California?
California,
Got it.
California. Yeah.
Okay. I
And
see.
and dad's work brought us back this way, Fort Detrick and DC, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Sure. Okay, so he was an Army.
No, he worked alongside the Army, right?
Got it.
Alongside military. He did a lot of military health system type stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in the Frederick area then.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay. So growing up in Frederick, Maryland, like what were you into? What did you like?
Yeah. So I fell in love with baseball. That was like the thing that I did because, part of my story, I was never the biggest, never the fastest, never the strongest. I was probably the smallest kid on any team that I played on, right? Like I was the last kid off the bench in baseball. Like even after the little brother that's playing up a year or two, like I played after that kid, right? And so I looked at baseball as like, well, that guy is twice my size. I can't go tackle him in football. I can't compete in basketball. I'll get the ball shoved in my face, but well, you'd have to throw the baseball at me. Well, I can figure that out. Like there's not that physical piece. So I think that's what attracted me to baseball originally
Mhm.
was like I found a way that my skills, I was quick, I was smart, I was these things. I figured out a way to compete. So I think it was just that. Like, so I fell in love with baseball, competing and that. And then the typical stuff, running around like a kid, bicycle rides and not coming home on time and all that fun stuff, right? Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah,
Okay. So you did baseball all through, I guess,
all the way through
childhood,
college.
high school.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Little League all the way through college. I finished up playing out at UMBC.
Okay.
But yeah, played the whole way through.
Okay, so for college, you stayed here local in the Maryland area, UMBC.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I spent 2 years out at Chesapeake College on the Eastern Shore, 2-year college out there, and then finished up out at UMBC playing ball still. So,
What position did you play?
growing up, I was a little bit of everything, right? Even though I was small, I was still a good athlete. So I played a little bit of everything, right? Catcher, literally every position on the field. But once I made it to high school, I was more of a pitcher, shortstop, outfield. And then once I made it to college, it was a pitcher only
Okay.
kind of thing there. So I was a starter for my first 2 years at Chesapeake. And then I finished up at UMBC, and I was still a pitcher, but I was a closer on the team. So. Yeah.
So I'm sure, Ryan, you said growing up, you were sort of always the smallest with sports, and that's why you gravitated to baseball. But was it easy for you, baseball?
No. I mean, baseball's a hard sport, right? Baseball's a hard sport to play. And I think originally it was just, I wanted to play ball. Like my friends were doing it. I just wanted to do something with my friends. But up until 10 years old, it was kind of like, well, whether I do well or I don't do well, my idea of success was I'm here with my friends. Did we have a good time? And did I get my hot dog and soda after the game? Like that was it for me, right? But I remember vividly being at a end of year, celebration, this kind of thing for the teams, and they were announcing the all-star team, and I was like, I don't know what an all-star team is, but I remember they were handing out the jerseys, and the jerseys at this time they had the names on the back of the uniforms. Now I know now everybody's got names on the back of their uniforms, like that's normal, but then that was a big deal. I'm like, that's awesome. How do I earn that? How do I get one of those? And I remember talking to one of the coaches saying, hey, how do I get to do that? And again, they're looking at me as the last kid off the bench. And they're like, that's really for the good ball players. And I'm like, yeah, so what are you trying to say? And they kind of encouraged me to go play something else other than baseball and do something different. And I remember walking away from that conversation thinking I feel like a coach is supposed to tell me I can do it. I'm only 10, I'm only 11, but I feel like something's not right there. And I remember talking to my dad about it, and he kind of gave me the choice. He said, well, we can go after this. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to give it our best shot, or we can go play something else, whatever you want to do. And to me, I had this little fire ignite on the inside. Well, how dare they tell me I can't do that? Right. I'm going to show them. Right. And so we worked, and we got to work, and it was a lot of work. Long story short, I made the team the next year. Right. So most improved player, maybe. But it wasn't easy because every year it gets harder, right? The competition gets harder. Everybody gets bigger. I'm not getting bigger. So I've got to find new ways to compete and new ways to build a competitive edge, whether it's knowing the game better, whether it was refining a skill or my mechanics. If a guy's throwing the ball 80 miles an hour, here I am throwing 60. I got to find a way to compete just to get on the field. But I think in the long run, and part of why I'm so passionate about this now, it was through those challenges. It was learning that grit and resiliency and all the stuff that made it hard that ended up being my competitive edge. Once everybody got to the same side of maturity, and it's oh, we're all on a playing field, the same playing field physically now, it was kind of hey, where'd those guys go?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd they go? Because it got hard for them. But by that time, they were 14, 15, and it was well, I don't know how to battle through this. So no, it wasn't easy. And at every level, I had people tell me, the next level, you probably won't cut it at the next level. You probably won't cut it at the next level. And I just kept saying, okay, chalk it away in the memory bank, little fire. So no, it was anything but easy for me.
Sure. I'm sure because, with any athlete growing up playing a sport, most of their dream is to play pro ball. Mm-hmm. Whether you're playing baseball, basketball, whatever it is, hockey, whatever sport it is. Yeah. Did you have that dream?
Yeah, I did. There was always, I think, if I'm being honest kind of with myself, I think there was this thing of, man, that would be really cool, mm-hmm. but I'm not quite sure I believe that I can do it, right? There was that thought that that'd be really neat, but maybe that's kind of for other guys. I think maybe part of that was just because of always being the small guy and, always having to battle this thing. So I think I know I could have done more, right? Looking back, it's man, I could have done way more to set myself up for success, to even have a chance. But I was also 5'10". I was throwing mid to upper 80s if I was lucky, upper 80s, right? And that doesn't really compete at the next level. Could I have worked my booty off and maybe gotten there? Yeah, possible. But I think it is always for a good purpose, right? Of being able to then do this. I don't think my purpose was that, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I understand. At UMBC, what did you major in?
So crazy stuff. So I'm in the fitness world now. I spent 2 years at Chesapeake College and I got a computer science degree. I finished up out at UMBC with a graphic design bachelor's degree. And now we own a fitness facility, right? But it's actually been pretty cool. Like, it's funny how God lays a plan out sometimes. You don't quite see it, but I get to do all our marketing, all our branding, all of the apparel design, whatever it is, website and this. I have the skills and the vision to be able to say, this feel, this connection, this experience, like it all blends. So it was actually two very opposite things from what I'm actually doing.
Yeah, I'm sure it came in handy, like you mentioned, for the marketing and branding side of things.
Yeah, well, especially starting up, right? Those are some of your heaviest costs starting up. If you need a website or you need marketing materials or a logo design or any of that kind of stuff, to me, I was able to just sit down and do it. Oh, well, I like this. I enjoy this part. Let's put it together. Let's make the website, and there it goes. So that was a huge cost savings for me because I got to just do it. And it was able to look professional. It was able to look nice, right? Versus, I don't know about this guy. Whether you like it or not, whether it's a website, you can tell when it's been done well and when it's been kind of like, oh, somebody's just throwing this thing together, right?
Yeah.
So we still had that professional feel, even though we were just starting up, which I think helped us a lot.
Coming out of college, Ryan, were you thinking fitness or going into gym, or were you thinking more just graphic design or?
Yeah, definitely more graphic design. I think I had the same idea that everybody did was graduating college. I was like, okay, I just need a break. Like, I'm just going to take a little bit of time off. Well, I spent about 2 days and I started going crazy. And so I just picked up a small job doing being a batting instructor, a pitching instructor at a local batting cage, just because I needed something to do. Like, I just couldn't stand not doing anything. The owner of that facility, he owned another business, and he said, hey, I know that you have these kind of skills. So I ended up working for a number of years, 5 or 6 years, as a contractor for the government, doing some of their like video work and photography work, graphic design work, and some like computer sciencey stuff. I did a whole bunch of stuff in that realm. And it wasn't until, again, this theme of adversity and challenges and crucible, it wasn't until our company lost its contract for those positions that I started thinking about, well, what's my next step? I think I just followed what everybody always said is, oh, you've got a good pay, you've got benefits, you've got retirement, all the things that everybody says, like, you just need to be successful and you're good to go. You've got security clearances, yada, yada. And I think I was just settling into, okay, I guess this is just what life is, until that door got slammed in my face. And it was kind of like, okay, is this happening to me or is this happening for me? Right? That was a question I kept asking myself, because as they were rehiring everybody as a government employee, I was the only one not to get rehired back, right? And I've been doing the job for 6 years. I was the one that wrote the job description. I wrote everything. So I interviewed for my home position. I was the only one. And I said, okay, there must be a bigger purpose here. What is it that I really love to do? What are the things I enjoy? And you start kind of racking your brain through stuff. And it's like, well, I love sports. I love fitness. I love helping people. I can't stand sitting behind this desk all day. So maybe fitness. So I just started following some of my friends around who were personal trainers. Let me see if I like this. Like, I don't know if I do. I don't know. Let me just see if I enjoy a day with you. And I fell in love with it. I just loved the idea of seeing an issue, understanding how to fix it. I don't know if that was just from sports and my own training or just like intuitive, but I was like, well, this makes sense to me. And I said, okay, here we go. So I took myself basically back to school. I just grabbed as many books as I could, just started studying the kinesiology and the anatomy and all that. And just, that's what I would sit there and read just to learn it. Did the certifications thing, and then applied for a personal training job at a new local gym that we had here and got hired. So that's kind of how I got into the fitness industry. It was by losing another job, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Around what year, what time was this, Ryan, with this transition
that
from
one.
the government job to
Yeah.
fitness?
Let's see here. So that would have been 2009. That would have been probably about 2013, 14,
Okay. Okay.
2013. It's probably 2013 is when that would have been. Yeah.
So then you start working at this other gym as a physical trainer, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So I started there, and it was I learned a lot of valuable lessons, right? Because you are one personal trainer out of however many, 20 of them, a huge gym, and uh, it's that big box gym mentality. It's like, well, they got their membership. If they can make a little bit more money off of us, uh, that's cool too. And so I took the training that they gave us as far as like how to sell. I had never sold anything, right? Like I don't know how to sell myself. But one of the best lessons I learned was over the first 2 months, I had 0 clients. I was taking what it was that they were telling me, like, this is how you sell, this is your rebuttals, this is your this is your that, like sales 101 course. And I was trying to get money out of people, right? Because I needed money to live, and they needed money, and I needed to make my boss happy, and all of these things. And I couldn't sell a lick, right? And I got to looking around, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I talked to my buddy because he had a full schedule. I said, what is going on? And he gave me some great advice. I think that goes into any business. He said, throw all that sales stuff away. He said, just build the relationship with whoever's in front of you, get them laughing, get them trusting you, get them liking you, and then talk about all that stuff, right? And as soon as I stepped back, I realized that the only way that I was looking at these people, because that's kind of what I was told, was they're dollar signs. Like, you need to get as much out of them as you can. And if they say no, you need to counter 5 times before. Like, well, I don't like it when somebody comes up to me in Best Buy and asks me about TVs. Like, I'm just looking at the TV, right? Like, I'm just bored. But that's how I was coming across, right? And as soon as I made that transition that said, okay, I don't care about the money. I just care about you. I care really about what your problems are. What are your issues? How can I serve you? Instead of what can you do for me? How can I serve you? Everything changed. I went from 0 clients to being one of the number 1, number 2 guys at that facility within a year, right? And it was a valuable lesson to me because it really is all about that service and really all about how can you serve people and help them. And if you help, I think it's Zig Ziglar that says, if you help enough people, then you'll, get it. It really is about serving and loving and caring for people. And then everything else will get figured out, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that for probably about 4 years or so.
Okay.
So yeah. So you want me to keep going? I could keep going if you'd like.
Well, yeah. So after the 4 years there, were you thinking, hey, maybe one day I'll open my own business, my own gym? Was that in your mind always?
Yeah. So that was very much in the mind. It was kind of this, because I had that valuable lesson, right? Like, I want to care for people. I want to love people. I want to help them change their life. But man, I feel so confined into what I'm allowed to do, not allowed to do. This, that, and the other thing, because it's business. Here it is. And money and profit and this and all of that's important. But I didn't like being bound by that and making decisions bound by just that, right? And so, yeah, that thought pops up into my head. And so a buddy of mine was starting a gym at the time. And he said, do you want to help me with this? And I said, sure. So started helping him with his startup. I was doing the big gym in the morning, was doing his stuff in the evening. And it was kind of like, man, okay, this is cool. I think it kind of went back to some of that self-doubt kind of stuff where it's that lie that you tell yourself of, well, starting a business is really for those people. You've got to have this much money, or you've got to have this experience, or like all of these disqualifying things that we tell ourselves, right? We tell ourselves these lies to disqualify ourselves, when really it's like, well, it's really all about your experiences. It's all about how you're going to love people and take care of them. And we can figure all the X's and O's. So I think that 13 months I spent with them really kind of opened my eyes of like, hey, I can do this. Like, this is pretty cool. I like this idea of, if I have an idea, we just go with it. Let's go. Let's see what happens. Versus going through the hierarchy and are we allowed to? And you 6 months later, no. Okay. Well, like, we can figure it out and we can move a little quicker. So I spent about, like I said, 13 months doing that. I can't get in too much, but there was some friction between the two businesses, right? Understandably so. I've gotten permission to go do it, but things got to a point where they said, we don't like how you guys are growing over there. You got to basically make a decision whether you want to be here or whether you want to be there. And so I had to, just because of certain factors, I had to stay with the big box gym for a while, right? But that kind of lit that fire underneath me, just like before when I was a kid, like, well, daggone, you're coming at me. The last thing I want to do is help you. Like, okay, we're doing this. We're taking this jump. We're taking this leap. And it was at that moment that I decided we're going to start this new thing. And, that was probably around January. So about a 10-month, well, it was like a 5-month turnaround before I actually started the business. And then 10 months before I actually jumped full ship and said, okay, let's go. So yeah, it was, yeah. Look, again, this idea of good things coming out of challenge, good things coming out of adversity. Is this happening to me or is this happening for me? And while it felt like this punch was coming in from left field, like, oh, this is happening to me, I paused and said, you know what, maybe this is the opportunity. God's shutting the door here and cracking this other one open. He showed me there for 13 months saying, you can do this. This is what I'm trying to get you to. Check it out, because I got this other thing over here I want you to do. And I think it was that 13 months that helped me build that confidence to say, okay, I can. And then it took the punch to say, okay, go. Because again, I would have settled, just like I would have settled over at the government job, which was good, but there was something else, right?
Yeah.
This whole thing, it was good, but I had this other thought of like, I could do this better. I could do this differently. And it just took that punch and that kick to say, okay, go. So
once you decided to start the business, how was that?
scary, right? Because I had a little bit of a safety net for a little bit. So for about 5 months, I was able to do the big box gym in the mornings, and I was able to do my thing in the evenings because of a distance clause, right? And non-compete. And so I had to be outside of 5 miles, I think, and I was like 5.3 miles away. And so I was able to do both, right? And so I had a little bit of a safety net to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to kind of take this jump, but let's see how it really works. So I would do the big box gym from about 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the morning. And then I would do 3 p.m. till whenever I could finish after school hours, like youth athletes. And so that was kind of my day for about 6 months. And it was kind of like, okay, this is working. People are liking this. People are coming in. And I remember talking to one of my fellow trainers at the time, and she just made the comment. She's like, you just need to decide on a day. Like, you need to put a deadline down and say, when are you leaving? Because otherwise you're going to do this wishy-washy thing. Like, go, like, make a date. And I vividly remember I was doing some like curls over by a window, right? And I said, okay, October 1st. And she held me to it. And so it put a little bit of an intensity, a little bit of fire in that. And so, that kicks everything into gear, right? That kicks the intensity of what you're willing to do, right?
Sure.
That discomfort, that adversity, that challenge. Well, maybe I'll make a couple more phone calls. Maybe I'll do a little bit more marketing. Maybe I'll go talk to a couple more people. I'm not that tired, right? So that comfort zone immediately got diminished. And so it was scary. And I remember coming home to my wife originally when I decided to make the decision to go. I said, hey, babe, I got this idea. Can I take $10,000 out of savings and buy gym equipment, right? And just like, let's see how this goes. And she goes, yeah. I was like, oh, that's the biggest hurdle right there. And off we went. So yeah, that was basically our startup cost, just $10,000 worth of whatever we could buy with that, and let's go and see what happens. But it's amazing what you can do when you have a deadline and when you're not comfortable, right? When you're out of that comfort zone, all of a sudden, like I said, you're not that tired, and I can make that extra call and I can go a little bit further. So yeah.
So during that period of time, Ryan, when you decided to give yourself that October 1 deadline, how much time did you have in between?
Let's see. That would have been probably about 2-3 months.
Oh, wow. Okay. So not much. Okay.
No, it was like, if we're going to do this, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, because I started realizing I was wanting to stay comfortable, right? And I kept
Sure.
looking back at my life, and it's like, well, every time I got uncomfortable, good things happened. So let's get myself uncomfortable, right? Little did I know that was going to kind of be a recurring theme in our business life, and which is good. But again, it's been good. So yeah, I tried to hurry that thing up, and then took the leap, and here we are 6 years later now. Which is great.
So during that time when you were juggling both, the name was already established, logo, everything was up and running. You were just juggling both at that moment.
Yeah. We started the LLC in January. We actually started working with the Mount St. Mary's, the local college rugby team. Before we actually officially opened our doors, I went to them. I had a relationship there and said, "Hey, let me get something going with you guys. Let's build a relationship."
Mhm.
And we ended up winning a national championship that year, which was awesome. I'm like, man, this is easy. Like, national championship before I even opened my doors. This is great. So then we opened our doors officially. I counted May the 4th, because that's the day that somebody handed me money for the first time. I said, okay, we're a business now. Somebody gave me money May the 4th, 2016. And I was still doing that in between thing. And then October 1st is when I took like the official jump and leap. So yeah, I guess it was a little bit longer than 2-3 months. So, but yeah, it was good though. Just, I had decided back like December time frame, what is this thing really going to be all about, right? Like, what's going to make me different? What is our theme? Like, why us? And I started looking back, like I said, at just kind of like what we were talking about. All the challenges in life are there for us, not to us, right? So we developed this idea of a crucible. Like, so the name is Crucible Performance. So the idea of a crucible, I'm a very faith-driven person, so there's a biblical sense to it, but just the physical thing of a crucible, right? Most people recognize it for like jewelry or things like that. Like, a gold necklace doesn't look like a gold necklace in the ground, right? It's a nasty rock, and it's got, it's got dirt in it and all this. So what do? They take it, they put it into a crucible, they heat it up to extreme temperatures. And the hotter they make it, all the impurities start rising to the top. They're able to skim it off, and they just keep putting it hotter, hotter, hotter. They add the right things into it, and what's left is something much more valuable, much more pure. And I felt like that's what was kind of going on with me through my life. All the challenges, all the doubting, all the this, all of that, they were there to refine me. They were there to make me better. And so I wanted to have that same visual and idea. You come through our doors, you're raw, you're gross, you're not where you want to be, that final product. So we're going to bring you in, we're going to heat it up, right? We're going to heat you up, we're going to put you through the adversity, we're going to challenge you, we're going to have the adversity there, but we're going to walk alongside you. So we're adding the good stuff in, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that competitive spirit, that relation. We're going to add all that stuff in, so that way when you leave that final product, it's like, here I am, I'm refined, I'm ready. So that was the vision of kind of where the name came from. And then the whole idea of Crucible Performance, well, we don't want to just like deal with the crucibles. We don't want to just like make it through. No, we want to perform in the crucibles. We want to thrive. We want to be that guy or that gal that when the fire gets hot, yeah, I want that guy. I want that gal when things are going wrong or great or whatever it is, when that challenge arises, I can perform. I'm ready, versus it happening to me. So that's where that crucible performance piece comes together. And then our big saying is cherish. Oh, I got it on a shirt. Cherish the challenge, right? Don't run from the challenge. Like, we live in a world and a time where, it's everybody else's fault, right? I can point to a million people and I can run from the hard things. And I'm always looking for the hack. I'm always looking for the easy way, the 7 simple steps, the this, the that. But that's not how greatness happens. That's not how, it takes adversity and challenge and adversity. So instead of running from the challenge, we're going to cherish it. We're going to love it. We're going to embrace it. We're going to run to it. So that way we can grow, love the growth, love the challenge, because that's when we get better. So all of that stuff got kind of put into a big mixing bowl, and out popped this thing that we are. So yeah.
I love it. And the whole meaning behind it too, Ryan, it's awesome. And, I really love the logo too. Did you come up with that idea?
I did, yeah. So the whole story behind the logo. So again, like I said, I'm a very faith-driven person. Like that's a center stone thing for me. So the idea, I kind of came at it like it was the armor of God. So we have a shield shape, right?
Mhm.
You got the shield, but then it's also kind of like that helmet, like that warrior's helmet, that we need to put on as well. Right at the center of it, there's a cross, but maybe it's
Yes.
a sword as well. And then it's kind of hard to see it here, but I got a logo over there you can look at, but there's kind of a notch out of the top of it, like this warrior got like gashed, right? Like, oh man, he got jacked up. And everybody always asks me, like, is that the way it was supposed to be, or did they mess that up? And I said, well, no, that's actually meant to be there. Because, if you had a choice between two bodyguards, you had a knight in shining armor on one side, and he looks good, and man, he's just pristine, shiny, not a blemish on him. Or you had the dude next to you with scars, his armor's beat up, he looks like he's been through the battles. Like, which one would you want? Well, you'd want the one that's been through it. You'd want the one that knows how to persevere and be gritty and find a way to be successful through the challenge. He's been there. I want that guy. He knows, he's experienced. And we always try to get so, like, especially with social media and this, we hide our scars. We hide we got to have this perfect image, but those scars are what make us. There's something to be proud of. And that's what makes us us and who we are, and being authentic with that and bringing those scars forward and saying, it's that same thing. This happened for me, not to me. All of those times that people doubted me, those are my scars, but daggone that, what makes me so good and caring and being empathetic for these kids and people now, or whatever it might be. I know what it's like being a small kid, right? I understand what it's like to be overlooked. I understand what it's like to be the underdog. I understand what it's like to be doubted. A lot of people might not want to be that. Okay, that's fine. But man, that's who I am. And then I can connect with you on that because I've been there. I get it. And let's get gritty and let's go. Let's
Yeah.
grow because of it. So yeah.
I love that. From the beginning, it sounds like the focus was always on athletes. Was that always the case?
Yeah, I think so. To me, it didn't really matter if they were an athlete or not. Like, I just
Mhm.
wanted that person that wanted to go beyond what they thought they could do, right? Like, I've got this and then something out there. I don't quite know how to get there, but I want to work for it. I want to achieve it, whether it's just to be in better shape, whether it's to earn a scholarship or whatever it was. That was kind of the person that I had in mind. That person, that was me, right? That
Mhm.
overlooked kid, that underdog, in whatever sense. I think naturally athletes were attracted to that, and I was attracted to athletes initially just because I was an athlete. Like, I get that. Like, that's my story. So I think that's just what naturally happened. And I think the vision initially was like, we're gonna get all these pro guys, we're gonna get the college guys and gals, and it's gonna be awesome and this, that. But man, I tell you, the group that we got inundated with, and we still are, is this like middle school group, right? Like, and when you think about middle school, like, how brutal is middle school? Like, that's a whole crucible in of itself. But they're trying to figure out who they are. They're trying to figure out all of these things that we were just talking about. They're going through that right now. And so I feel like we get a lot of these families coming in saying, I need somebody to walk alongside them through these challenges, through the self-doubt, so they can have that confidence. They can be confident in who they are. They can put that stake in the ground and say, this is me. This is where I'm going. Y'all might call me crazy, but I'm going there. Yeah, so vision and what actually happened was maybe just a little different, but the idea of serving and empathizing and walking alongside somebody through those challenges was still there, that foundation element.
I love the focus through middle school. My oldest son actually just started middle school this week.
Awesome.
So I get it. He's not much of an athlete.
Mhm.
He's like more into STEM, to science, tech. So I'm curious, as far as the services you offer,
Yeah.
is it mostly one-on-one? Is it group classes? How does it work if someone out there is curious and wants to learn more?
Yeah, the majority of what we do, I call it individualized group training. So we keep our groups really, really small, but everybody's different, right? Everybody's sport's different. What they're trying to achieve is different. So we'll work in a small group, but everybody's got their program that's individualized to them. So we wouldn't train a rugby player the same way we would train a volleyball player, right? But we do want to build that camaraderie. We do want to build that communication. We do want to build that teamwork. So we do everything together in a team environment. There's something special. If you've ever been in a team weight room, there's something special when you're working hard together. The bonds that are formed going through challenges, going through adversity is very different. So if I've got your back on a squat and you don't know if you can do it, but I've got your back. We got this thing together, man. And then you do it. There's a different kind of excitement and connection and camaraderie, and that happens because we did it together, right? So I like fostering that amongst our athletes because, I mean, shoot, like this is them right now, right?
Oh,
like,
yes.
They don't have that. So if I can break you away from that thing and go have a conversation with that kid over there, ask them if they need help, ask them for help, right? How many kids don't want to ever ask for help? So we do everything in a group environment for that energy wise, but also for some of those kind of pieces. Again, that's part of the refining fire for that age. Like, go talk to somebody new. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'll text them, but I'm not going to talk to them, right? So we do a lot of it for that as well.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's very much needed, especially in today's time, which is all, like you mentioned, on the phone, technology, video games, computer, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Yeah. Were you always, I know you're located in Frederick. Was it always, I know you said 6 years ago, was it always Frederick, Maryland based?
Yeah, we've always been at Frederick, but this is like our 4th location. So kind of the crazy story amongst that. So we had started back at the place that I had done baseball lessons initially getting out of college. I went back to them and said, hey, I got this idea. Can we do something together? And they said, yes, let's do it. So I had started my business there. About a year in, new owners came in and they said, hey, come on, we have other ideas for this spot. Okay, no problem. So we were a year in, we had just come off of being named best gym in Frederick. So I'm like riding this high and it's like, let's go. And then boom, another gut punch. So here I am, business homeless. About that same time, the people that we were renting our home, my wife and I were renting our home from, they're like, hey, we're selling our house. So I was like, okay, now I'm homeless too. I got to find a place to live for my business and me. And so we went on about a year's journey of trying to find a home and a location for our business, right? So we're a very like energetic, like, let's go, music going, energy, let's pump it up. Man, God, thank you that we had this location, but we got to do some business on a tennis court inside of a facility. Now, the culture of tennis is silent, right? I wasn't allowed to have music. I couldn't have equipment. I couldn't clap, right? So get kids fired up without clapping or talking. Like I had to figure out a way to get them to give their best without anything external, really. Like, how do we communicate? So we spent a couple months doing that, which was brutal, but which was also a really good lesson, because what I realized was even during our time there, our numbers grew. We grew in people. And I realized it had nothing to do with the equipment. It had nothing to do with the exercise. It had nothing to do with all of the like glitz and glam that we could have in a nice facility. It had everything to do with the relationship. It had everything to do with serving. That same lesson I learned back when, it's like just being reinforced in a different way. And I was like, okay, because it gets easy to compare to the gym over there or there that brand new and fancy and nice. And they've got all these toys and wow. But none of it matters unless there's that relationship. So that got reinforced. We spent another couple months inside of another facility that we were blessed to get into. And it was actually nice. It was already outfitted and a gym had just left. And they said, hey, slide right in. I was like, beautiful. This is great. And, but they were selling that location. So I had to be out. So long story short, the location that we're in now, this was like the 17th location that we tried to get into. And we were even on the way to sign the lease on one of the locations. I was like, finally, we did it, like location number 10. We're like, we got a place. I was on the way to sign the lease and I got a call and that said, hey, they actually just leased it to somebody else. And I said, good. That means there's something better, right? I was learning this lesson. It's happening for me, not to me. And walked in here and I was like, yes, it's the biggest place. It's the scariest. It's the most expensive. All of those things, like, but this is it, right? This is home. So signed a lease here, and here we are now. We signed a lease in 2018.
Okay.
This location. So yeah, and here we are and growing and all that fun stuff since. So,
Oh,
but
that's
again,
awesome.
that same idea of adversity and challenge, all of that stuff kept coming up, but it was all happening for us, not to us. It wasn't something to run away from. It was something to lean into and say, okay, this is going to refine us and make us better as a business, as an owner, as a husband, as all of those things.
You mentioned it was the biggest space. How big is your facility?
We got 7,400 square feet right now. Still could probably utilize it a little bit better. I feel like it's big in certain areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, 7,400 square feet after coming from about 1,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. Ryan, what would you say drives and motivates you?
I think I feel like this is so much just my purpose. Like when I wake up, I feel like I am supposed to be that coach or be that person that believes in somebody more than maybe they believe in themselves, right? I had that in my life. And those pivotal moments where you're looking and you're doubting yourself. And I want people to see this place as that inflection point on the timeline of their life. And I just feel like that's just my God-given purpose. And like I said, I'm a very faith-driven person, and I feel like, whatever your emotions are about church or not church or faith and religion, like I feel like a lot of people run away from religion, because they've got a bad taste in their mouth about what it really is. And rightfully so in a lot of cases. And so I wake up and I say, I want people to experience the gospel in a way that they never have before. Meaning I want them to feel that love. I want them to feel that empathy, the way that I really feel like the church is supposed to be. So I want people to feel that love, to feel that empathy, to feel that forgiveness, to feel all of that stuff inside of our doors. And so I think going through all those challenges that I went through and that same love and connection and relationship that I felt from other mentors and coaches, I was like, man, let's just make a business revolving around that and understand that just because the world's saying take the easier way or look for like the safe this or the that, like, no, like the challenge is when you grow into that person you're designed to be. And after living that and experiencing that, I think that's really what wakes me up and says, like, let's go change the world. Let's change some lives in that way.
If someone's listening to this, Ryan, and they hear your story, how you left your government contracting job with your stable W-2, your benefits, and then you went out and you found your calling and you started your business, and they feel something similar. They want to start something. Maybe they're not sure what it is yet. Maybe they do know. What advice or pointers would you give that person?
I like getting stuff down on paper. Like I'm a journaling kind of guy. Like whatever those thoughts are, like just get them down on paper, whether it's the fears, whether it's the anxieties, whether it's the excitement of starting your own business or the fears of starting your own business or the excitement of what it means for your time or the stress of what it means for your time with your family or not. Like just get it all out, because I find when I keep things in my head, it can be changed and, like it gets mucked up in there, right? But when I can get it down on paper, get clarity, I can look and say, well, that's a lie. That's something I can figure out. Like I can get clarity and I can start piecing the pieces together of, well, I can fix that. I don't know about that, but I'll figure it out. So I would just get everything down on paper. If you have some ideas of maybe an industry or an area that you're wanting to go into, just go experience it. Kind of like what I said I did. I didn't know anything about the fitness business, but my buddies were personal trainers. Let me guess, I went spent a day with them. Do I even like dealing with sweaty people? Do I even like dealing with people complaining about their knee or whatever it is? Like, I love it, right? So I would say get everything down on paper, fears, excitement, all of that stuff, and then just go experience it. See if it's all that you really think it is. And if you walk away fired up, awesome. Like if you're hating it day one, I'm going to say, well, maybe we adjust things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then also don't not do something because you think it's going to be hard, right? Like, it's going to be hard. I'll tell you that right now. Like, it's going to be hard. Starting your business is going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be all of those things you're afraid of. Like, but that doesn't mean it's not good, right? That doesn't mean that's not the way it's supposed to be. That might be the very best thing for you. I mean, that's our entire business. It's like, find the challenge. Like, so if it's going to challenge you, good, right? So,
Yeah. Cherish the challenge.
boom, let's go.
Are there any specific habits or traits you feel that you have, Ryan, that have helped you, whether for business or for personal side of things?
I'd say, again, journaling for me is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Having people to talk to, whether it's mentors or family or people that you can just throw ideas off of, right? And just, this is what's in my head. Tell me if it's crazy or not. And it might be crazy, and that's okay. I might still go do the crazy thing. I just, like, let's get some feedback here. Because that's something else. Maybe another piece of advice. Just because somebody says that your idea is crazy doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, right? Like, so many things are out there are crazy, but crazy is what changes the world a lot of times. So don't necessarily always just go with what other people think. If it's on your heart, maybe that's exactly the kind of crazy, maybe there's a reason you were given that crazy idea. But I digress. Journaling, get around people. Me, I've got to move. I've got to work out. I feel like I'm only at my best from my business when I'm taking care of myself physically, mentally. If I'm reading, I like to read or listen to audiobooks, and just taking the time to try to grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I've got to have an attack plan for each of those before I can ever pour out to other people, right? So,
what would you say is your biggest challenge with your role today at Crucible Performance?
Yeah, I think that it is my business, but it's also the biggest challenge, which is just people, right? Like, people are hard. Like, people have, and that's what I love about it too, right? It's, people are going through stuff, like, and you never quite know all the time when they're walking through the door where they're at. So while it's the best part of the business, being able to walk through the doors and be like, this is where I'm at. It's also the hardest part when they walk through and it's like, I just lost my job, or my grandparent just died, or I'm breaking up with a spouse, or whatever it is. Like, it's the best part to be able to empathize and walk alongside them. But daggone, it's hard too, because it's so much. If we were all about just the fitness side, it'd be like, okay, cool, just forget about it and let's just work out really hard. Like, if all we cared about was losing weight or building muscle, it'd be a lot easier just to be like, well, forget about that for an hour. Like, let's just go work out. But if we're really going to do this life inflection point thing, well, maybe the workout today is having a talk and going on a walk and grabbing a coffee and just like, hey, let's dig into this. And that's hard, and that can be taxing, and that can be just emotional. And then you have that same exact thing with employees. And they're going to come in feeling great some days, and then they have lives too. And then I've got a life, right? So I'd say it's the best and the most challenging part is just people, right?
How you mentioned employees? How do you go about finding that right team member, an employee to bring onto the team? Especially, like you said, you're dealing with here all types of people. They're walking in with they're good, they're bad, the ugly, whatever it may be. And you, as a person representing Crucible Performance, have to know how to directly communicate with them.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably been one of the, I mean, it is finding great people, right? And especially when we're trying to achieve at a level of what we're trying to achieve, it's hard finding that kind of person. So right now it's myself and one other person. We've just hired on another lady. So there's going to be 3 of us right now. And the first one I found he was actually on the rugby team, the Mount Rugby team, that won a national championship. And I got to see him as a freshman all the way through. And it's like, that's the kind of guy that was a leader as a freshman and was, he was down with the other athletes when they were hurting. It's like, I'm there with you. He's lived through challenges and adversity of his own, right?
Sure.
He wasn't the stud guy, but daggone, he worked his butt off to be able to compete and contribute. So he's got a little bit of that cherish the challenge thing in him already. Same thing with the lady that we're hiring on. She's got an incredible story on her own. So I think for us, it really is that servant-hearted kind of person that's willing to walk alongside somebody through the journey, and is wanting to be that life inflection point, right? It's not about the Instagram version of ourselves. It's about that nasty, scarred up, gritty, like I'll show you my scars, like if it's going to help you with yours kind of person. And that it is hard. And I think that probably is part of what's not stifled growth, but part of why we've kind of grown just one of these kind of things is because it's hard to find that kind of person that wants to kind of be that vulnerable. It's something special that we're doing here. Like I said, it's more than just weights and reps. Like
Sure.
that's such a small piece of the change that we're really trying to make.
Yeah. What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your business career?
That's a good question. It's funny. I think I've always kind of done things backwards, right? Where I do all the brand, like the creative stuff. I do all the branding, all the this and all of that, and I know nothing about business, right? Like, so if I were to have known more about things like systems, yeah, like just business 101 systems that I just kind of had to struggle through and figure out. If I would have had a lot of that kind of stuff at the beginning, it probably would have saved me a lot of headaches of, instead of this 100th iteration of what we're at now, like, oh, well, that's how they tell you to do it. I didn't know that. Like, okay, start there. That would have been nice. Systematizing it from the beginning, because I think I probably run into the same thing a lot of business owners do, where they try to wear too many hats and then don't want to give them up. Setting the business up to where the business side could run regardless of me or not, right? Having that stuff set up early. So I think that would probably be something that would have been nice. And we're still developing, right? As we develop as a business, you add new pieces, you take pieces out, like the systems change. But instead of the system be, hey, Ryan, work really, really hard, like have a system, right?
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier, Ryan, as far as going to people if you wanted to bounce off ideas or mentors. Did you have any mentors throughout this, and if so, what did you learn from them?
Yeah, so I had a mentor. I got hooked up with him through an event that I was at, and he was speaking at. His name's Todd Durkin. He's out in San Diego, California. I was actually introduced to him through a buddy of mine, and then he was at an event, like I said, that we were at. And he owns, like I said, a gym out in San Diego. He's probably best known for training athletes like I think he trained Darren Sproles, Drew Brees, LaDainian Tomlinson. Like he's trained Steven Strasburg. Like he's trained some big name athletes, Hall of Famer and LaDainian Tomlinson, future Hall of Famer and Drew Brees. So it was cool to see a guy working at that level with that kind of caliber, athlete, which was at the beginning was the dream, right? Like that'd be really cool. But I was able to, I don't like the phrase pick his brain, but I was able to pick his brain and understand that the challenges and the adversity that I'm feeling in the midst of this thing, like, I don't know where next month's rent's coming from, or, well, that's not uncommon. It's not just me. Like everybody goes through that at some point. Like, I don't know how to do this, or that imposter syndrome of like, when are they going to find out that I have no idea what I'm doing kind of thing. Right. Oh, you felt that too? Oh, okay, cool. Like, but you're doing this thing with Drew Brees and this. Oh, but you felt that at times too. You still feel that way at times? Okay, cool. Like I'm not alone. And so it was that empathy thing that I was doing for our people. Oh, well, this applies to business as well, not just on the sporting field or in a relationship, but like in business too. So there was a lot of those kind of little lessons. There was a lot of lessons about, hey, have a routine, just like you did with your athletic career. Have a routine with your business career, right? Whether a lot of those things, what are you reading? What's your physical health like? What are you spiritually like? A lot of the things that we talked about earlier, like have a game plan. And it was funny because you get comfortable with it in the sporting career, but then it's like, oh, well, I can just compete that same way in business. So I think that was some of the good kind of mindset stuff that I needed.
Okay, I like that. Coming to an end here shortly, what does the future look like for you in the business? What is the next couple of years?
Yeah. So we're looking to grow. We are looking to grow. I'm wanting to put a good effort into finding those great coaches, right? And developing those great coaches. I think a lot of our athletes have come through us now, have experienced it. Some are graduating college now, and are saying, hey, like, I'd love to be part of this. Like, I see the way it changed my life. I'd like to do that for other people. So I think we're at that point now where people know what it's really all about. I want to do a really good job of growing our team so that way we can impact not just this area, but however big it goes, right? But not losing that inflection point feel, right? I don't want to grow to the point that we lose that somebody feels lost, that somebody feels overlooked, that somebody feels like they're just a number. All those things that made me want to leave the other stuff that I was at to create this thing. I don't want to go and grow too big to where you lose that piece, right? Because if our mission is to be the inflection point, I want to make sure that we're in the inflection point, that we don't suddenly steer over into this other thing because it's more profitable or whatever it is. So for us, it would be getting great coaches and digging deeper into the way that we can impact the people that we're doing. Just do a better job at serving who we currently have. Like, I think we're doing a great job already, but how can we do it better? Just whether it be services or more deeper mindset coaching, deeper like just heart coaching, right? So we probably won't be changing location here for a while, but just becoming more refined, just like a crucible, more refined at what we're already doing. So
how are most people finding you now? Is it, I don't know, relationship with middle schools, high schools that you've developed, or is it online, or?
Some of it's online, some of it's social media, but a lot of it's word of mouth.
Okay.
A lot of it's people looking at athlete A over here and saying, man, I remember that kid used to throw his helmet or would just break down on the mound, and man, now look at him. Like, what happened? Oh, well, he goes to Crucible. Well, tell me about this. So a lot of it's just our athletes going and doing great things. We've had a couple athletes drafted. The past couple of years, we had an athlete last year get drafted by the Angels. We just had another athlete this year go in the first round to the Cleveland Guardians. So I think people are seeing that what we're doing is working, not just at like a local level, but on a professional level as well. So I think it's kind of like, oh, like there's something more to this, like, than just the working out. Like, it's the mindset, it's the coaching, it's all of that stuff put together. And parents would love that for their kids. Parents would love to help set that up for their kids. So when they see some of that kind of stuff, it doesn't help or it doesn't hurt when one of your athletes goes in the first round, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
Major League Baseball draft, but it doesn't hurt. So
yeah, that's the best billboard right there. If they see Johnny or Kelly or whoever out there and they see the difference and they're like, how did that happen? There you go, Crucible.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, I love that. If people, I know you're busy with the business and everything and growing it. When you're not busy growing the business and working on it, what do you like to do in your free time?
Hang out with my family. So I've got a wife, I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and then I've got a little baby boy due in December.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. So it is just 100% family time, because just like any business owner, there's days that I'm here 13 or 14 hours, right? And just doing X, Y, Z. So any remaining time I have, who else would I want to spend it with than my team, all right? So whether it's just at the pool hanging out with them or just playing board games or dress up with my daughter, whatever it is, it's 100% family time, like just connect there. It's because they support me chasing this dream, right? Like, it goes all the way back to my wife to saying, like, yeah, like, she had no idea what was in store, but she supported me, and I don't think she questions it ever, but I don't think she ever thought necessarily like, holy smokes, this is what I was signing up for. But she has been nothing but supportive, 110% the entire time. So anytime that I get, like, it's theirs.
That's great. I love that. If someone wants to find out more information about you, Ryan, and Crucible Performance, where can they go? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so we're on social media, we're on website, all that. So our website is crucibleperformance.us, not .com, .us. And then our social media stuff on Facebook and Instagram, those are our main two, is just at Crucible Performance. And then I've got my own personal Instagram, which is Coach Ryan Morse, at Coach Ryan Morse on Instagram. So, they can message me there. I think that's how we connected. So yeah, that'd be fine.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Pleasure's all mine. Love the energy, man.
Let's go.
Let's go. Take care.
Thank you so much.